Parashat Terumah, we're going to deal with a little bit of spiritual stuff here, so hopefully it'll be good. The Zohar talks about this Parashat Terumah, in a very interesting way, and it clarifies to us, for those of us who read the Zohar, a tremendous amount of clarity about spiritual goings and patterns and so on and so forth. And especially in particular in regards to men's ability to create a deep and personal connection to what we call the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the purpose of this Shabbat and whatever this parasha had order for us or giving to us is really to be able to awaken that connection, that personal connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which for us is quite of a problem, and maybe we'll see why. So there was a very famous rabbi, doctor, philosopher, one of those very special people. He lived in Italy around 1700s. He died, if I'm not mistaken, 1776 or something like that. His name was, some say he was the Talmid Chaver of the Ramak. However, some say that no, he actually was the initial Rebbe of the Ramak in Kabbalah, but then the Ramchal, kind of excelled above him, and his name is Harav Moshe David Vali. I'm sure you all heard of him, right? Okay. And it was really considered to be one of the greatest sages of the time. It was a Mekubal Italki. He wrote a Pirush for the Torah, and for all the other, for the Tanakh as well. And his Pirush, his commentary on the beginning of Parashat Terumah can create an opening, a gap in which we could kind of, really try to get the meaning of that. So the parasha starts with the Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, and I'm quoting, Daber al bnei Israel ve'yikechu li terumah. Speak to Am Yisrael, and they should take a terumah. Terumah will be what we call today a donation. Terumah, donation, litrom is to donate. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues in the words that are really almost the key words for this Shabbat or this parasha, and he says, "Me'et kol ish asher yidavenu libo tikchu et terumati." So the beginning he says, give, get your donations from Am Yisrael. However, he says, don't make it mandatory. Take it from whoever wants to donate. Yidavenu libo. Nedava is charity, but we'll see exactly what does it mean. Yidavenu libo. I only want that. Don't force it. You don't want to give, don't give. If you want to give, chavod. This is a tremendous thing. And in other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe that I wouldn't say it's a test, but it's maybe a test for us or whatever. But let's see what happens now. Let's see what happens. And Rav Vali says that, he's asking, what's the connection between the beginning of this parasha that talks about the abilities and of course in a deeper level of every person that can and in potential connect with the Kadosh Baruch Hu to the end of last week's parasha. And the last week's parasha at the end, in Parashat Mishpatim, Bnei Israel had a what we call a chezion, a vision, a sight of great light, where they saw Kadosh Baruch Hu himself, and it tells us the description of what they actually saw there, and they it was quite of a quite of a shocking event. I mean, think about this. This thing was saved for the greatest of prophets. Yeshaya, Yechezkel, everyone. I don't know, it's a mind-boggling, as they say in Yiddish, a moiradik. It's amazing. It's really amazing. But so if we take this and we look at this, to most of us, and that's what we lack in, Rabotai. We lack in avodah ruchanit. We're very hard workers, and we were taught, we were conditioned to work very hard. Travacho, work very hard in your school. The harder you work, the deeper you sink. Kind of this thing, right? Work hard in school, work hard at work, give up your life for your work, right? But nobody is really teaching us how to really work hard on our avodah ruchanit, on the spiritual work. And to most of us, it's something that is very far and very removed. And to most of us, it's based on something that we don't see. So, of course, now to base something that you saw on that, it's kind of a thing. To most of us, avodah ruchanit, spiritual work on the self and so on and so forth, is on the intellect, whatever we understand. I understand and I do it. I don't understand and I don't do it, right? And sometimes experiences that we have experienced, but not necessarily visions that we have with that. You're lucky if you had one. You had an experience. I know somebody who was walking in En Gedi, in the area of there one time, and he says to me, "Listen, I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I wasn't dehydrated." He said, "Believe me, he said, I saw a certain vision that basically shook me to the rest of my life." He said it wasn't a psychotic break. So, of course, you're very lucky if you do so, but to many of us is just work, just a logic. But this is one of the maybe even the only, well, actually not the only time, but to that magnitude, but one of the few times in history that a group of people had some kind of a vision, and this is, it says to us in last week's parasha. So they had a visual sight of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a physical experience of God. And they saw how Kadosh Baruch Hu can descend to this world, and let's take it with, of course, I wouldn't say with a grain of salt, but with quite carefulness. And how Kadosh Baruch Hu has been experienced in this world as a burning fire, as a consuming fire, and of course you can't enter this fire without getting burned or getting completely consumed by it. So of course, how could I continuously be connected with such a thing that's going to consume me? If I'm going to get close to God, it's going to burn me alive, so-called, right? So it's very hard for them. Maybe it's also some kind of an explanation of why they did later on the Egel. It was too overwhelming for them. So that's why they asked Moshe Rabbeinu to maybe he could connect this for them. Maybe he could bring a little bit of light. And maybe in the day-to-day lives they can also do a few communications and connections and something like this. But they did not think that they could establish a continuous connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu on long term. And the reason is that, and you have to remember that in the physical world, when you see something, and this is of course this is the lowest level on which we see things, because things are different than what it is. And we spoke about it a million times about how we, for example, don't see things in the dimension of time because we're moving together with an object, so we never see it. How does it really look, right? But I love those things that they do. That they take let's say a picture every day of a person, then they put it into 5 seconds. Then wow, all kind of things like this. But and the lowest level of interaction in this world is called Etzion or, and what they saw is HaKadosh Baruch Hu was eating them. Therefore, they felt that they can't do this. They can't connect. They can't connect. And to us also, we also believe that there are many of us that believe that that we can't really continuously connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And maybe because it has to do with the quality of light itself. Because everything that I do in life, there is an up. If there's an up, there is a down. That's because I'm in a three-dimensional world. There's up, there's down. But to be connected in a continuous motion is very difficult, like the universe. The universe is continuously expanding. Even more so if we say that it's billions of years, continuously spreading. There's no contracting. If I breathe in, I need to breathe out. If I breathe out, I need to breathe in. If I go up on something, eventually there has to be a way down. Even if I climb the Everest, well, if you can't continue climbing, you have to, from that highest point, you go down. We don't understand. So even if I had a sensation of tshuva, of that I want to be mitchazek myself, I need to understand that I don't have to come down. I need to be able to create this momentum and break from the power of spiritual gravity that pulls me down. Like light. If I shoot the light, let's say I have a laser beam. How far does this light travel? Well, it will travel as long as the universe will expand. That's the way it will travel. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu put this in motion, and we couldn't elevate ourselves, and we still cannot elevate ourselves higher to the point of creating a continuous momentum. That's why it's very difficult, especially for us in the West, to create a long-term commitment to one thing. Whether it's work, whether it's exercise, whether it's your wife, whether it's anything, we're always looking for something else. Shoes that you wear, anything. Right? We're always bouncing around, bouncing. We're spiritual ADD. We can't rest. It's always have to be in motion and commotion. That's a problem. What? So, and we need to understand that we cannot awaken, so-called, or keep this total connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the only reason is because we don't know how to connect to Him. So in other words, it's like, imagine there are waves. So I need to learn how to surf the wave. You see those waves of the shores of Portugal or something like this. It's 80 feet waves. It's ridiculous. There comes a guy and he goes on a surfing board and he goes with this. We should be able to allow ourselves to be carried by this wave of spirituality and create a continuous connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we don't. We go up, we go down. We go up, we go down. We go up, we go down. And you don't know, one time you're going to hit the down so fast, so far, you're not going to get up. You're not going to get up. So how do we do that? How do we do that? So we need to know that we don't necessarily need to go into this consuming fire in order to keep a continuous connection with God. That there's no days that I'm thinking, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. God, I have a yerida, I'm tired of this. Here, take this kippah, all right, let me, I don't know, do what? I don't want this to happen. So how do I do that? And we should, so Judaism will be also a little easier for me. Easier in terms of, I don't need to fight all the time. Listen, if you're going to fight all the time, eventually you're going to get tired, you're going to lose. It does not have to be a struggle all the time. And we fight all the time, and eventually we lose. And look at this all the time, that has to do with the way you interact in shul, with your friends, with your family. If there's always a tension of fighting, no good will come out of it. No good will come out of it. So we have to see how we do it. And let's go back now. And in order to connect to create this constant connection, and it says that there is a level, only when you reach a level in your heart that there's no hatred, jealousy towards other people. In other words, when we say kol ish, when the Kadosh Baruch Hu says kol ish, right? Kol ish, when he says the pasuk and he used this word kol ish, and there's only for people like this, tikhu terumati, then you should take my terumah. And that something could create an internal combustion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be revealed inside of you. In other words, it tells us that if there's no love in our hearts, God cannot come up. You can see the God in you. You can connect to the God in you. That's why when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, you understand that God is one. That's why you understand that you have to love Ve'ahavta. So if you're a person who, that, hold on one second, you want to talk to him? Do me a favor. Yoshua.
Me?
Yoshua. Talk to, hold on one second. Yeah. 1 second, guys. Yeah. Go outside, talk to him. So if you're a person that has always conniving, making fights, making arguments, suspicious, and so on and so forth, you can't be a God-fearing person because there's no God inside of you. Maybe externally, on the chitzoniyut, you are a person that gives the show of I call Israel, I love everyone, and so on. But lemaise inside, you don't, and you don't even love God because you can't connect to Him. You can't connect to Him. And you have to understand, what does it mean? How do you do it? And it's a tremendous thing. Maybe now you could somehow understand the words of Rabbi Akiva when he says Kal Gadol Batorah. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is a Kal Gadol Batorah. It all depends on that. And when you do so, the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu could easily dwell inside of you. And the word that the Torah uses here in order to symbolize or to give it a name of that awakening inside is the word idavenu, of Yidava. You should know that the numerical number of Yidavenu is the same numerical value of the word chesed. Yidavenu and chesed is the same thing. And that it says that if you awaken in your heart to be kind, to be generous, you're removing any hatred and any sin'ah that you have in your heart. I'm kind, I'm generous, I'm willing to forget, I'm willing to let go. And in a heart like this, it doesn't really make a difference who you are and what you have done. It's all being erased. It's like I'm pressing the major reboot button that gives my hard drive completely clean, and now I'm putting a new software in it, and that's called love. That's called oneness. That's called connection to God. I'm a different person. That's the whole essence of tshuva. And listen, again, it doesn't make a difference at what spiritual level you are. The light of a Kadosh Baruch Hu can live inside of you, as they say, "V'asuli mishkan v'shachanti betocham," and they make me a dwelling, and I will dwell among them in their heart. You could find this, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu would live inside of you. So Rav Moshe David Vali tells us that we are not talking about here about a process of spiritual uplifting. It's not what we call enlightenment like we have in the East, or some kind of New Age mumbo jumbo that I saw the light. We're not talking about something like this. It talks about that this is a process of preparing our hearts, because as long as there's no heart in our hearts, as there's no jealousy towards other people, only then HaKadosh Baruch Hu could dwell inside of us. And only then we can reach the point in which we can connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on permanent basis. And that's a very important point. And it's a very neglected point in our lives. To many people, this is no more than just a rhetoric. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is just a rhetoric. But nobody is actually teaching you how to do so. And this is a tremendous, tremendous thing. You need a tremendous time to contemplate and to dwell into yourself to come to this realization. And it takes a lot of practice. And what does it mean? What does it mean in terms of when we talk about to be connected continuously with HaKadosh Baruch Hu forever? What does it mean? We know that awareness is everything. To being aware of something, to create awareness is basically everything. And when I'm aware of something, I acknowledge its existence, and then I could connect to it. If I'm aware of the existence and the needs of others, I could respond and connect to them. But if I don't, there could be air to me. And that will be to your wives and to your friends and to your community and to your people and to the people of your city and to the people of the nations and so on and so forth. So you need to create that awareness. First of all, the acknowledgement that there is something that you need to acknowledge and their needs. And then you connect. And then that slowly, that will become a permanent practice in your life, to become more sensitive, very fine-tuned. The Ashkenazim call it edel, very refined. You can listen to country music and drive F-150s and have a 3006 in the back, and you could be still a very refined human being. It has nothing to do with size or activity and so on and so forth. So don't think that only somebody who lives in Boston and goes to listen to chamber music on a Sunday, and puts that he's a sensitive. No, they could be also the most insensitive person. It has nothing to do with where you live and who you are and what you listen and what you eat and what you could eat meat and become you could be a hunter and become an extremely sensitive and aware person, and you could be a vegan, it could be a brute. We're talking about an external that is insignificant in regards to internal, which is the most important thing. And this is what I tried to tell Idan and Sam here before, about the quality of connections when you have a chavruta and you learn with chavruta. The reason, what you do when you learn with someone with chavruta is you acknowledge, first of all, out of respect, the person's importance and his opinion that is just as important as you. When you ask the questions, he gives the tiruts, and then he asks the question, and you give the tiruts, and so on and so forth. And then through the Torah, through that awareness, you create a certain connection. And that connection is a spiritual connection. And when you have that awareness and spiritual connection between the two, hey, Givaldik, as they say, then Shechina, Shora Benehem. That's exactly what the Gemara says. The Shechina dwells among them. What does it mean, the Shekhinah dwells among them? If you look at it this way, you just became the Kruvim of the Aron HaKodesh. when you learn b'chavruta with someone, and it's done through love and acknowledgement, and when did HaKadosh Baruch Hu speak to Moshe? Bein hakruvim, beinehem, in between. Shechina shora beinehem is between you. You reach the level of the kruvim of Aron HaKodesh. Do you understand what it means? And you can tell me it's better to watch the Super Bowl? Or go to organic chemistry? Or go. Right? And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will go with you anywhere you go. Because you carry this with you. But there's another, but Rabotai, just eat the sushi, please, and say Leilui Nishmat and eat the sushi.
Makes a lot of noise to open it's cold, right?
It's okay. It's okay. Do like a samurai. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, open this first. That does make a lot of noise. Anyway, that's Leilui Nishmat. Who is this? Ari. Leilui Nishmat who? I got it here. Hold on. Yeah, 1 minute, guys. You have to wait over there in the video. Who?
Rachel Bat Sarah.
Rachel Raya Bat Sarah. או רחל בת שרה. רחל בת שרה. בסדר. רק שנייה. רחל ריה בת שרה. Yes. Excuse me. רחל ריה בת שרה, לעילוי נשמת רחל ריה בת שרה. רוח השם תנחנה בגן עדן, בגן עדן מלוכתה, וכן יהי רצון ונאמר אמן. יופי, good. So now that you guys are eating gashmius, we're going to talk about ruchnis. Now, so there are other secrets. We're not done here with the secrets of the Mishkan. So when we come in to look at this parasha with the structure of how they build the Mishkan, you could feel that there is tremendous significance. We just missed it, Amnon. We said, Leilui Nishmat your mother, Rachel Raya Bat Sarah. And there's tremendous secrets to and hints to all those important vessels of the Mishkan. And let's try a little bit to go with it, because I don't want to just get it, as they say, be done with it, because it could help us a lot. The Gemara in Masechet Baba Batra in Daf Chaf Hey Amud Bet says the following: Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says, "Arotze sheyachkim yadrim." You want to be smart? Go to the west. What does it mean? Yadrim. Go to the west. Oh, I'm sorry. Go to the south. Sorry, what am I west? I'm thinking about Led Zeppelin and my spirit. I can go to the west, yeah. Yeah, you can sit there, Lama lo. Come here. So it says over there, I would say sheyachkim yadrim. If you want to be smart, you should go south. V'sheyashir yaspin. And if you want to be rich, go north. Now, what does it mean go north? Go to Finland? I mean, they give you like free everything? No, not necessarily. We have to see exactly what does it mean. And he says, V'simanach shulchan batzafon u'menorah badarom. The shulchan of Lechem HaPanim was in the north, and the menorah was in the south. Now, we have to understand that not everything was the way we have it today. So if you're going to take that cross of the directions of the earth, it's everything is relative. Yachasi, everything is relative. And we're going to go a different way. Mizrach, east, where we call how do we say Mizrach over there? Which is Mizrach is east. We call it Kedma. Kedma milshon kadima, front. So I'm positioning everything. If I make a map, we have the north on the top. This time I'm going to put the east on the top. It's a totally different way. Very interesting to draw a map like this. Put the point of reference of east.
Jerusalem?
At the top. Yeah, it's Kedma. And you should know that some of the maps in the ancient time was actually made like that. Tzad Yamin, the right side, is going to be the south, like this. So Yadrim, right? And Tzad Small, the left side, is going to be north. As the Midrash says in Otzar HaMidrashim, Hadarom nikra Yamin, ve'asmol nikra Tzafon. The south is called right, and the left is called north. As it says, Tzafon ve'yamin ata bera'atam. North and right, in other words, left and right, ata bera'atam. You created the direction of the earth. You can ask a question, I'm not necessarily going to answer, yeah.
When Avraham Avinu told Lot, you may have a smell yamina, so it doesn't mean right or left, it means if you go north, I'll go south, you go south, I'll go north. Then.
Yeah. It of course depends where Avraham Avinu was. It was just like, we're going to go to opposite directions. So, let's look at this a little bit. We talked about the menorah. The menorah is the symbol of wisdom, chokhmah, and abundance, shefa. The menorah was placed in the south, which is the right side of the world. And in the Torah, they call the south Teiman. Teiman, not Yemen, but south. Mishum Yemin. Okay? I see Dan is already thinking numbers, Shevedan, Yemini, So it's called Yamin. As it says in Shir HaShirim, Uri Tzafon Uboi Teiman. Uri Tzafon Uboi Teiman. So and we know that in Kabbalah, the right side always refers to Chesed, as we said before, Yidavenu, right? Refers to Chesed. It refers to the abundance that comes to this world, the nourishment that comes to this world, to us comes through the quality of Chesed. That's when we can digest and eat and do all these things. Otherwise, we can't. The menorah which we light with the Shemen Zayit Zach, not Zoch, Zach, is the sign, of course, of wisdom and intuition.
What does Zach mean?
Zach, pure. As the Gemara in Masechet Barachot in Daf Nun Zayin Amud Bet, יופי. הרואה שמן זית בחלון, יצפה ללמוד תורה. If you dream about olive oil, don't get your pitas in your dream. Come next day to the yeshiva, learn, you're going to have tremendous simcha. Now, הרואה שמן זית בחלון, יצפה ללמוד תורה. The menorah expressed to us, of course, the abundance of the Torah and the chokhmah that comes to us through HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the Torah. You can't get wisdom, true wisdom of understanding, unless you're going to go to the Torah, Rabotai. Everything else that we have in the world is changing. Any wisdom, any knowledge there is in the world is always changing. The physics of today is not the physics of yesterday. The math of today is not the math of, actually maybe the same God. No, it's not the math of yesterday. History, without a doubt, today we rewrite history all the time. You know, everything is changing all the time. The Torah, we still deal with the same Torah that Rabbi Akiva dealt, that Tanaim and Moraim and David HaMelech and everybody else. It's the same Torah. And the left side, which of course on the left side, which they put the shulchan, the table, is referring to the opposite, the tzimtzum, the condensation, and the other side, of course, is going to be the din. The shulchan was placed in the north, and the north is the left side of the world, and according to Kabbalah, the left side is always a side that is associated with midat hadin. I'm not talking about magic, I'm talking about Kabbalah. And that, and also refers to midat hadin, it refers to the tzimtzum, the shrinking of the abundance that comes from above. So if midat hadin chas v'shalom is awakened, the markets are falling. Midat Adin is restricting everything in this world. Midat HaChesed opens it up, and that restricts it in the world. And as it says in Sefer Tehillim, Perek Yud Zayin, Utzfoncha temale bitnam. The abundance that comes from the north is very limited, and that is of course, in your mother's womb, it's very limited, right? And also in Lechem HaPanim, there is an aspect of materialistic abundance, but there is a tzimtzum and restriction. There's a restriction to it, and you should know that materialistic or objects that are materialistic or materialistic values are always limited, restricted, and there is an end to it. Always. I saw the news today, oh boy, yeah. Warren Buffett lost $1.1 billion. Yeah, the stock market went down. He lost $5.1 billion. So good, I wish I had that money.
Don't worry about him.
No, I'm not worried about it. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying? There's an end.
He's going to make 10.
There is an end. And today the government will tell you, listen, Habibi, we are chas v'shalom devaluing the dollar in 1,000%.
Never happened before.
But never say never. Everything could happen. Sab kuch vilega, as they say in Indian. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So there is an end to it. And in the Shulchan HaPanit, they used to put the bread, the lechem, and avodat ha'achila was bringing up, right, ha'ala'at chumriyut leruchniyut, taking materialism and then bring it up to spiritualism, to spirituality, pushing it up. And that's what we do also. That's what when we eat, we make a bracha. Now we're elevating this up. It becomes a part of us, part of our body. And my body is geared towards learning Torah. So I'm taking this raw material of food, whether it's fish or rice or whatever it is. Like, for example, you took a tuna or sushi, right? What was it doing in the ocean? It was eating. Swimming, whatever it was doing. All of a sudden, that fish became a part of me. And now the fish was elevated to a level of a human who's learning Torah. That's what we need to do. And how do we start the process? And we don't allow this to happen by saying brachot. The bracha is initiating that process. Of course, you have to say bracha achona to finish, to complete it, to seal the package, and to be done with it, to process it. It's very important to understand. That's why we need to make brachot. And of course, there's other elevations when you go more, if you're eating vegetables and so on and so forth, it's tremendous, it's even more in avodah. But we're not getting into this. And then, of course, the food becomes a part of us, and therefore we are doing what we call elevating of Kedusha. We are fixing this word, but elevating the level of Kedusha of everything. It's not only about me, it's also about, and saying thanks and appreciation, as we said before, and to the things that I have. I'm aware of that. See, the awareness is very important. I'm not just eating, I'm not a cow, I'm not an animal. I'm a human, I'm a Jew. And as such, I need to be more aware of what is needed for me, what I need to do. If we talk about the Mizbeach HaKtoret, we should know the Mizbeach HaKtoret was operating as a point of connection and elevation that brings it up. We learn from here that Tzad Yamin of the menorah and Tzad Small, the left side of the Shulchan HaPanim, it's a shefa abundance that we get from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to no end. Right? That's the right. And then the left is the restriction and so on and so forth, which is the reality that tells us we need to elevate the surrounding around us. That's why, for example, I myself, I'm not a big fan of lavish meals, for example, in Seudah Shlishit.
Why?
Why? Because I'm interested in the eating, in the boozing, and I'm not actually allowing, you don't need much. You need a little bit of food and a lot of spirituality. And how do you do the spirituality? I'll tell you this very simple. You need to sing. And you sing, and you sit down with your fellow Jew, and you take in a piece of herring, and you take in a piece of, a little coleslaw, and you sing in Shirei Shabbat Kodesh together. That is a tremendous experience that we don't have. In Israel, they used to call it kumsitz, when people sit down and they make up. Guys, for example, we can do this one time. You can leave your wives and girlfriends, and we can go one night to experience the outdoors. Outdoors is a wonderful thing. And we'll make a bonfire. And we're going to sing their Stairway to Heaven, and we can sing Smoke on the Water, whatever you want, and all those wonderful songs. And we're going to have a lot of kumbaya. And what we're going to eat? Beans and rice, and we're going to be so happy. Why? Because when you sing, you are allowing yourself to break down the barriers in which you so frantically chose to put up on yourself. You allow yourself to become real and stopping become fake. Seudah Shlishit or Shabbat, because the peak of Shabbat is its peak at that time. Shabbat is at a spiritual peak at the top. I'm going to waste it on eating and drinking and coming tomorrow even like this. I need to take this and use it as a leverage to push me through the week. So I'm going to sing, and I'm going to hold my friend's hand, and we're going to sing, and we're going to bang on the table. Believe what Maran said today, you can't bang. We're going to bang on the table. We're going to have a good time. That brings unity. I acknowledge his existence. That he also wants to be happy, and he wants to be happy. And we sing it together. We need to have this aspect. It's not about the food. The food is just a vehicle for us an excuse to make a bracha. You're missing the point. How are you going to open up to someone? If I'm smashed and he's completely gassed out, well, I don't have any awareness of him or any. I forgot there was somebody. I told somebody that, and years ago, and he told me there was a movie. I think it was a Bad Hangover or something like that. Yeah. The people take something and they become drunk. They don't remember anything. They have problems and so on and so forth. We don't do that. What?
Yeah. What about karaoke? They're getting together. Karaoke. That's a good thing.
Karaoke, you're right, but unfortunately I cannot do karaoke on Shabbat because I can't sing the thing. But lama no, you're right. And you see what karaoke does. People sit down and it's usually lousy food and great singing. And the dumber you are singing, the better time you have. But that's exactly what it is. So when we are in the peak of Shabbat, instead of taking the chomriyut and using the leverage of Shabbat to spring us up for the rest of the week, we are sinking ourselves with more materialistic desires, sinking, and we're not allowing the Kedusha to come up to us. And that's usually people have fights when? Seudah Shlishit before Arvit. Ech ze yachol liyot? That's why. Everywhere. You go, Rabotai, listen, I'm a Sfaradi Tahor, right? Blue blood Sfaradi, right? But I'm going to tell you this. You need to go spend Shabbat by some Hasidim.
Oh, they have party.
Why? And what did they have there on the table? A challah roll this big, gefilte fish, not gefilte fish is lucky if you have.
They have large bottles though.
I don't know, I bet there's no bottles.
Like this.
No, that's not Hasidim, that's Shikorim.
That's what they did.
זה לובביץ' זה לא חסידים, זה חסידות. You don't need drinking. I want to experience the Kedusha at best. I cannot do so when I'm tinted. I need to be clear with tremendous clarity. I want to feel it. I don't want to be drunk. I want to see things how it is. The Kedusha does not come to you when you're drunk. Not when you're stoned, not when you're drunk, not when you smashed, not when you... None. When you did bump or you rode over a bump. It doesn't happen. You need to be clear. You need to sing. That's the thing. We need to take this. And if not, as you could see, If we don't do that, comes the chomriyut, and we bring a lot of food, and we bring a lot of stuff, and then what happens? Midat adin comes out. The restriction. I don't find the room for me in my heart for him. And then I see animosity. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's a horrible thing. We need to educate the people for that, to open up to one another, to explain to them, to guide them, to encourage. Not just one guy sits down and gives a lecture and everybody listens and then they fall asleep like this. They had dream number 9 of John Lennon over there, right? How about Wakawa, whatever, right? You know, yes. Dream number, yeah, right? We don't need that. We need chavuta, people learning one another, banging heads, creating spiritual connection there, bringing the Shekhinah, as we said, among them. That's what we need. So the Mizbeach HaKtoret is something very important. So we have that. We need to understand. There's 2 movements. There's a Terumah movement, right, of abundance from milemala lemata, right, from tzad yamin, which is the menorah, down, and Terumah milemata lemala, that comes from the bottom up, of hala'ah, elevation. And we says we should create such a thing if we're able to create and tap into that. That's right. See what happens when you learn Gemara? You learn Kabbalah too. And that's exactly what it is. If we will be able to awaken, the Kedusha from down here, there's going to be double the amount, the Kedusha, that we will be able to generate. It is ridiculous what we can do with it. Not only for ourselves, for Tikkun Olam, to fix in the world, to bring about the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We need to understand that. Now, the Mizbeach HaKtoret, where is it? Is in the middle. And Mizbeach HaKtoret, therefore, is the connection, is to connect those 2 movements and to do something to something about it. Now, it's called Mizbeach Ktoret, right? In Aramite, you know that there are many letters that switch around in Hebrew. Right? For example, the word, or in Arabic, the same thing. Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic are sister languages. So if you want to know Hebrew, if you don't know, learn Arabic grammar. You know Hebrew grammar. So in Arabic, or in Aramaic, the word gold, we say dahab. Like, this is zahav. These zahav, dahab, in Sinai. Dahab, you know, the place where we gave back, you know, the place. These zahav. Zayin, dalid, shin, tet, lekater, is not shum categoria. Categoria is a Greek word. Lekater means lekasher. Keter is a kesher. It's connection. Mizbeach haktoret. And so, in other words, the ktoret connects those 2 elements between us and between HaKadosh Baruch Hu, between the shefa that comes from above and between us that come from the bottom. And with this abundance that we lift up, we bring the Kedusha. That's how we become partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what he brings up to us, that is the main thing. In Kabbalah, that is referred to the Sfera of Tiferet. The Tiferet is Limud Torah. Tiferet is Limud Torah. And that Limud Torah is the element that connects between the Shefa from above and to lifting up your materialism. Rabotai, I know I sound like a broken record, but I did trap you again. It all comes down and boils down to learning Torah. It all boils down to that. If you're learning Torah, you bring bracha to the place. They build a place, a new place, wonderful. Walls from marble from Italy, stones from whatever. It's a very externally nice, but internally empty. and you walk in, you feel empty. You go to a place, the people seriously prayed there, and there was no machlokot, no fighting. Fighting makes everything go away. You can work on the same thing in your home. You can work on your kesher with your wife or the connection of your wife. Hard. Fighting comes, boom. There's love is gone. There's no shekhinah, it's all gone. You got to start from scratch again. Only this time you're going to have scars. Before you know, you're not going to look like Mufasa. I look like Scar. Teeth like that, you know.
I don't know where you pass your time. You know so much about those things. I don't know any of it.
That's why I'm sitting here, you're sitting there.
No, but those are secular things.
Okay, but the Rambam didn't know about Aristo. I know about Lao Tzu. Go to the bathroom.
That's where you enlighten yourself.
Without a doubt. Each to his own. However, so that's what it is. That's what it is. The Torah brings the Shefa from above, depending on how much we allow to elevate our chumriyut up. So when you learn, a person changes. Person changes. If you see a person that's supposedly changed, and he hasn't, he learned Torah, and he hasn't changed, you know the Torah did not penetrate into him. He didn't make the connection yet. I don't care how long your beard is, how long your coat is. I don't care how much you quote things by heart and so on and so forth. Your actions, you show the connection. You become more humble. Matisha kocho shel adam. The Torah makes you weak because you learn hard. You're supposed to learn hard. But matisha kocho, koach hachumriyut shebo. It makes it weak. It makes you to a different person. Your face will change. You work on yourself. In order to be successful, to sanctify the chomer, the materialism, and to be able to be rewarded with a divine abundance on the other side, we must have the connection, that element that will tie things together. So Rabotai, today that we don't have Ktoret, today that we don't have the incense, we have Limud Torah. So those who learn Torah are like Maktirei Ktoret. And we have to treat those who learn Torah with the proper respect. Because it's all dependent on them. That's why a person who supports Talmidei Chachamim has a tremendous level of Kedusha. He walks into a place, you should stand up for him. Because Torah is being supported by him. He's the tzino, he's the shefa, he's the pipe that brings it down. A person that learns is the connection. So a person that is the big gvir who gives the money, who supports the people without question, without conditions. He is not a restricting force. He's not Midat Adin who restricts. He's Midat HaChesed. He said, guys, you want to learn? What do you want? Water? Fine. Water? I'll give you water. Feed you water. Good for your prostate. 7.7 alkaline. You want, yeah, I know this too. I know Chinese medicine if you want as well. You want something? Why are you guys eating here pretzels from last week? I always see the kokach yashan. There's overshoot. There's mold in it. It's all the kebach yashan here. Guys, I'll get you something terrific. A person like this, he's the menorah. He's the menorah. He brings the shefa down. A person who is restricting, that's the forces outside. I tell you, oh my God, you don't have to learn. You're this. You don't need to learn. Go to learn. You don't do anything. Nah, you're not good. You're not good. These are the restricting forces. We need to connect them together and make things better. Things to change have to be changed truly only when you introduce Torah and you allow it to grow. You have to have a balance, and Torah is a balancing force. That's why Torah is a must. In any place of Jewish dwelling, you must have Torah. If not, it's destroyed. It's restrict you so much, you would crumble from the pressure. Imagine you go into such pressure, let's say underwater, 100 meters. You'll crush. A submarine sinks. There are not holes in a submarine. It will go down if there's a crushing point. Crushing depth, it will simply break. That's Midat Adin. There's a lot of abundance in this world, but the only way to connect it and to overcome it is through Limud Torah. And Limud Torah, why? Because the Torah allows us to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you want to know why Parashat Mishpatim came after Matan Torah, that is the reason why. It was too big, too awesome. The experience of Matan Torah. And we need to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world that we are now. How are we going to do so? Elu HaMishpatim, V'Chukim, and so on and so forth. And how are you going to do so? Minidvat level. If you're going to be interested in doing chesed, and so on and so forth. Rabotai, there's a lot of work. And we have to all put the shoulder for that. We have to care for one another. We have to be kind to one another. And we have to push one another and encourage each other to learn, including ourselves, to learn Torah. Rabotai, Judaism is a lot of work, but it's fun. If you commit yourself to Avodat Hashem, to learn Torah and to do Ritzon Hashem, I guarantee to you, you're never going to be unemployed. Shabbat Shalom.